years ago, Train to Busan took the world by storm, and we finally have another film taking place in this world. And let me tell you guys, it's really damn good. What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to a brand new movie review. Today I'm going to be discussing Train to Busan Presents Peninsula. Now, this film again takes place 4 years later after the zombie outbreak in Train to Busan. The Korean Peninsula is devastated, and Jung-Suk, a former soldier who has managed to escape overseas, is given a mission to go back and unexpectedly meet a ton of different survivors out there. This is one of my most anticipated films for the fall season. Now, funny thing is, I actually just saw the first Train to Busan just a couple weeks back, maybe about a month or so now. And I loved it. What a film that keeps you engaged the entire time, but also lived up to the hype. I had heard so many different things about this film over the last couple of years, and the fact that it finally lived up to the hype to the point where I wanted to watch it again right after watching it. It's easily one of the best zombie films, if not the best zombie film ever made, but it's clever, it's innovative, and it was creative in the way that it took one singular space and made it for such an engaging route. You know, think of a film like Snowpiercer. It was kind of like that, but with zombies and more intense and more amazing. And the direction there was just absolutely fantastic. And Peninsula had a lot going in for it because you necessarily can't just do the same thing over. And I love what the director was able to do. Same director comes back for this one. And instead of just making another highly octaned contained thriller inside a train or maybe a different scenario, he decided to go bigger than all before, really expanding on the world, expanding the mythology of this world, the outbreak, and really what happens to a society after a zombie break happens. But as well, diving in to so many different things that happens in this and making this a giant epic of a zombie film. I'd probably go as far as say this is going to be the biggest blockbuster zombie film ever made, from the action set pieces to all the character moments, and in general, especially to the world. One thing in particular many people need to understand is this movie is not the same as Train to Busan, and I love that. I didn't expect that going into this film, and that's what really caught me off guard and made me love this film, and some people will be disappointed in that, because again, this is not a film that is a straight horror thriller. This is more of an action thriller blockbuster with zombies in it. And I think that adds, I like how the director was able again to take a different style and tone and break out of that. They all look like the franchise Alien, where the first one was very much a contained thriller and the second one became a badass action film. It seems like the director really took that approach this time around. It had many callbacks and tie-ins to many other films from film history, like Mad Max, Fast and Furious, World War Z, and even Escape from New York. Yeon is again able to direct a different type of film from the first one and break away from that first style and even its tone, but go for a more high-octane action film that takes place in the same exact world while also still feeling and really much resembling this world that was built about in the first film. My things that mainly goes into that is again this world that we're diving into. You get to see the human nature. You get to see what this pandemic and this epidemic have done for this world and how it is treating people of different societies, where they come from, and I love that. And especially when you start to get into the survivors inside this peninsula and how what they've been going through, that's when it gets very interesting. And, you know, I will say some of the human nature does get dragged down just a bit, especially when it gets into some of the action set pieces, because this isn't just a straight zombie film anymore. Now it has to deal with the other human elements, and not everyone's always a fan of that. I know Walking Dead gets a lot of criticism over that because it does deal with more humans than it just does with the zombies now, but this film kind of molds it and meshes it in pretty well to see how people are handling the zombie apocalypse as well as handling each other. I was really happy to see again how these action set pieces were really gone about. The reason I compare it to Mad Max and Fury Road is hot damn, the action scenes in here are edge of your seat, entertaining, and really tie into a lot of Asian cinema, but in general really revolves around probably containing some of the best action set pieces of this year. Now I will say some of the CGI for those elements are a little bit wonky, maybe seem like a little bit of a cutscene from a video game, but nonetheless it didn't defer me from this film. That'll be different for every single person who views this, but each and every one of them were so stylized, so badass, and really a lot of them were filmed in such beautiful ways. The camera movement, the cinematography, all of that was just brilliant. And again kept you on the edge of your seat, and it was never feeling repetitive nature. They were always paced so well, and the action keeps changing throughout it and coming clever just like the first one was. Well, this one's about high-skilled soldiers who do know what they're doing. Now you can get actually more creative ways to kill these zombies, and in general, more cool ways for the camera to move them around, especially when it gets into that up-and-close personal, or whether it's backing away to see a car chasing away, just smashing into a bunch of zombies. It is absolutely ridiculous, and I loved all of that. Maybe that could personally get in the way for some people, and I think this is where I should probably dive into my cons, because I think this is actually maybe where some of the cons could stem from personally. For some people, maybe even a little bit for me. While this film is gigantic, and I do think it's probably one of the biggest zombie blockbusters we've probably ever had since World War Z, this is a better film than World War Z. I like that film, but this is definitely better. The biggest thing that I can possibly say for this film is sometimes it's too big for its own good. It has too many characters. It tries to explore too many elements inside this pandemic world, and I kind of wish they would have just centered in on one thing in particular, and maybe if they do decide, or I'm sure they will if this is very successful, but if they were to have decided to do another one, they could have dove into another one of these elements into a different Train to Busan. And I think that's where this film gets a little bit mixed up, is when it tries to do a little bit too much, especially with all the characters involved, which can easily get kind of mixed down into the emotional set pieces. There are some emotional scenes in here, but nothing that ever made and riveted the heights of the first one's ending, where I was really much in tears. My heart was sinking so much. It's when you don't get the teary eyes or the heart-wrenching emotion. There's still some emotionality in here, but nothing that was strong as the first one. I think the characters took a little bit of a deep dive in here, and I kind of wish they would have spent just a little bit more time with them. And I think if you would have really segregated it to maybe one certain pertained area, instead of really going bombastic and focusing on different areas, different survivors inside this peninsula, it maybe would have been a little bit stronger in its storytelling. And it's okay to have so many ideas. I just really wish it would have been more structured better for a story per se. Like I said, while I did like the examination of the human nature, I do wish they did intersect the zombies in here a little bit more. They really only used them in very conjugated areas, which was cool to see nonetheless. It still kept that horror flavor. There's still so much blood and it's still intense, but the fact that these soldiers are badass, we don't get a lot of those creativity ways. There are some cool creative kills in here and creative ways maneuvering around these zombies, of course, because they do build on the mythology that they suck at seeing at night. So the ways that the survivors are kind of either getting around them, how they're manipulating them to go against other people is really cool and unique. I just kind of wish they played on that just a bit more, because that's really what we would be doing if this was a true thing happening. Nonetheless, Peninsula is an absolutely blast of a time, and it's one of the movies that you definitely should be checking out this week. I mean, God, I wish I could have seen this in the theaters, like especially the first one and this one, and like do a double feature, because I had a blast with this one, and while I don't think it's as good as the first one, because I think the first one's a masterpiece, this one is like just there, inching a little bit above it, and just, it's so much damn fun, especially all the action set pieces and everything going around in this world. While I had cons, I still had just so much damn fun, and I can't wait to rewatch this film. For you guys, my final thoughts on Train to Busan Presents Peninsula, make sure to get in a comment down below and let me know your guys' thoughts. Are you guys excited for this film? Are you not? Let's discuss it all down below in the comment section. As well, guys, head on over to Sandwich on Films on how to see films early, and of course, it's a big thing to you and a big thing to my Patreon supporters, because without you, I wouldn't be able to do this. Train to Busan is such a badass film. It has high-octane action that keeps you engaged from the second it starts and keeps going. It might not reach the emotional heights of the first one, but I don't think it needed to. The director knew that he needed to do something different. I'm glad he didn't just focus in on something that we had seen before. I'm glad he went different. I'm glad he went a different style. A la, again, like Alien and Aliens, this one's straight up more action, and the first one was more of a horror film. Not everyone will like that. I absolutely loved it. The action set pieces are entertaining, they're engaging, they're riveting. The film as itself is just so engrossing with all the different elements. And yes, it is a big film, but I kind of really dig that. I like when horror films can go this big blockbuster style. And yes, maybe it's a little bit too much for its wary and what it was trying to do, but I really want another Train to Busan sequel. I think we deserve one. I think this director knows what he's doing. He's killing it in this genre, and I think doing a third one to kind of sum up this whole story of different stories of different people, because this is, you know, it's not a direct sequel. There's no characters coming back. The zombies come back, but that's really it. I love being invested in this world, and I just think this film was a total and utter blast. So with all that said, I'm going to give Peninsula an A-. Thank you guys again so much for clicking on this. You guys are seriously all the best. I cannot wait to discuss with you guys about this one. Again, the first Train to Busan is an A+. It's a masterpiece. This one is just a little bit underneath it. If it could have reached those emotional heights, if it could have really tinkered around the story just a little bit more, I think this film would have been like near perfect just as well. But it is an absolute blast of a sequel, and you guys are having to have a ton of fun with it. Let me know down below, guys, if the zombie apocalypse was to happen, what would you guys do? What would be your main weapon to keep you surviving? And of course, just thank you so much for clicking on this. You guys are seriously all the best. So of course, until next time, stay classy.